Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A big thanks to all of you who have joined us today. And it is with immense pleasure I would like to welcome everyone to the inter-university debate of Gen AI, which is organized as a part of the AI for Innovation, Design and Education workshop and conference, also which is known as the AID workshop and conference. The AID workshop and the conference is conducted by Learn with the collaboration of UNESCO Chair at the Asia Pacific University of Malaysia. Let me share a few information before we move on to today's debate regarding the AID workshop and the conference. So the workshop will be conducted from the 11th to the 14th of March, and the conference will be conducted on the 15th of March in Kandy. The workshop is applicable for teachers, academics, and other educators for new knowledge and experiences on AI and generative AI in education. For further information, you can look into our social media. So now let's move on to today's topic. We have 4 universities for the debate, out of which University of Peradeniya, Colombo, Jaffna, and Ruhuna. So today we are having the semifinals 1. And for the semifinals 1, we have University of Ruhuna taking University of Colombo. Next, I would like to cordially invite Dr. Asita Bandarnayaka, the CTO of Learn, to talk about the event. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Asita. I'm the CTO of Lanka Education and Research Network. So as Andrea introduced, we are having this debate as part of the AID conference and workshop. So that the finals will be happening during the conference that will be held on March 15th in Kandy. Where we will have presentations as well as the presence of the dignitaries, ministers, and all that. So hope that you can take part in that. Why we are doing this conference and workshop is that with the advent of Industrial Revolution 5 or 4, as it is, some people are saying, AI or Gen AI is making ripples around the world in every sector, and it is not so different to the education sector as well. And we are already feeling the different effects of that one. So on the one side, there are ethical issues, how this Gen AI should be used, should it be used, if it's so, how it should be used, and so on. Things about data privacy, security, the bias in AI. So there are one side that is there, and from another side, the potential of AI into education is being discussed, and then comes the question about the digital equity or the digital divide. So there are many things that are being discussed, and also things like whether the AI or the machines can truly replace humans. So there are many debates, many discussion points that are with the advent of AI into education and in general. So the objective of this debate series is to raise awareness, so to bring forth all these discussion points, especially from the viewpoint of our younger generation or of next generation. How do they look at these things? How should we go about either using this, regulating this, of AI and generative AI and things that are changing? How should we include them, or how should we look at this thing. So there are a lot of things that we need to discuss to raise awareness, to get people talking about. So the whole objective of this debate series is to get these topics into the forefront, into the public, and make a debate within the society so that we can really truly make a informed decision in going forward with this change of technology. So that is the whole objective. And I hope that we will have a very fruitful and a successful debate today. I wish to um, uh, uh, um, wish the best of luck to both teams for today's debate. May the better team win. Whether win or lose, I want to once again highlight that this is an effort to actually raise awareness and look at and drive our future and uh, uh, drive or formulate the path for our future. So hopefully, I hope that all of you will be be able to raise the pertinent points for discussion among the general public, and I hope that you will beyond this forum you will also continue to raise awareness about these issues so that we can actually go into the future with the informed decisions, informed mind, rather than with fear and uncertainty. So once again, I wish you all the very best and let the best team win. Thank you, Tandria.
Thank you very much, sir, for the information that you had provided. So next, let's move on to see who the teams are and who are the members. So from University of Ruhuna, we have Madhushi Jaivikrama, who is the captain, Dilushi Ratnayaka, Dulan Fernando, Abdullah Nawaz. And from University of Colombo, we have Dinet Hetiarachi, the captain, Butmini Mohoti, Harindu Kirihena, and Shavika Samaraheva. Let me introduce our esteemed judges now. We have Mr. Kovida Rajiva Bakmi Denia. He's a lecturer currently, and previously he has been serving the building department, water board, Sankin, and also he is a debating adjudicator. Mr. Sahas Gunasekara, the software engineer of Valaris, debate coach of Hillwood College, Kandy, and a member of National Debating Team 2018, best speaker at the Sri Lanka University Debate Championship 2021. Dr. Srinath Pereira, Senior Vice President and Chief Architect at WSO2. He is a co-founder of the Apache Axis 2 project and a member of the Apache Software Foundation. Next, we move on to today's topic on what our proposing team and opposing team will be talking. So the topic for the day is AI can truly personalize education without compromising the quality of learning and the importance of human interaction. So the proposing team is the University of Ruhuna and the opposing team is the University of Colombo. The judges will discuss once the debate is over and give the verdict. Next, I would like to introduce who the timekeeper and the moderator of the debate are. We have Aparna Tevara Peruma. She will be the timekeeper, and the moderator will be myself, Andrea Rajaya. Students, kindly pay attention to the screen that has been shared. We have already informed you on this matter in prior, but still then again we are updating. So the guidelines are, please rename yourselves as follows. If you are from the proposition, you go as PROP underscore the speaker number, or opposition, OPP, speaker number. Captains, you may use the following: C underscore PROP for proposition, OPP for opposition, and the speaker number. As we had already communicated, we will be sharing a timer invite which will come to your chat in Zoom. And please do not close it, accept it. Do not change any of the settings. The timekeeper will start the timer once everything is in order. Just in case a speaker loses connection mid-speech, the timer will be paused for a minute to allow the speaker to reconnect and continue from where they left off. If the speaker fails to reconnect within a minute, another member from the team must continue on their behalf. Speakers must have their cameras turned on while speaking, and other times you may have your camera switched off. So now let's commence the debate. Before commencing, I would like to know whether the judges are ready. Mr. Bakmi Denia, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gunasekara, are you ready?
Yep, all good on my end.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Pereira, are you ready?
I'm good. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Right. So now we will be sharing the stopwatch as an invite. Kindly accept. I hope all of you all would have received an invite to your chat, and I guess you all have accepted you. So then I think everything is fine. It's good for us to start. So first, we will be starting with the proposition speaker, Dilushi. Dilushi, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Right. So I'll start in three, two, one. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Currently, all around the world, the new revolution is the artificial intelligence era. Today, we are going to propose how this artificial intelligence, or in other words, this simulation of human intelligence into machinery, is going to truly, one, personalize education, which we mean by tailoring education to individual students' needs and styles, and two, how it's going to uplift this quality of learning, which we define by the degree of effective knowledge acquisition and skill development, and three, how it not only preserves but also improves the human interaction ultimately. And by human interaction, which we mean the crucial social element for learning and development between students and even between each student and the teacher in this education system. Ladies and gentlemen, the current education system depends on extracurricular activities and both on academics, right? But we have to understand the most effective human interactions happen during this extracurricular part, right? But why doesn't, but we have to understand during the academic part, the student might have to focus truly on the learning process and they might not have effective time for the human interaction. So we understand that to have effective human interactions, we should modify this academics part to more efficient and an effective way. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to propose that we have to understand the current education goal. The ultimate goal of education is to help an individual navigate life and even contribute to the society once they become older individuals. But however, the current status quo is not allowing this, and why we are going to explain this in a three-level analysis of stakeholders. And that is from the perspective of students and the educators and also the whole education system. And why, how this AI whole, the implementation of AI would enhance this education process. First, I would go for the students' perspective of how this personalization works. The current education system is not personalized. It's more like one size fits all model that has been taught for all the students. But what the problem is, in a classroom, there are different students with different learning styles, different paces. But what happens is only one lesson is taught to in the same way to all these students, and this leads to disengagement and frustration and even unequal learning outcomes. And in fact, it will even cause the higher dropout rates from schools and universities both. But why we can't achieve this personalization for each and individual student in the traditional method is that the current teacher-student ratio is very unequal, so that we can't even have one teacher for each student's attention. And in this situation, this resource called artificial intelligence comes into play, which is a very cost-effective method to have a personal tutor for each and every student, right? So when the same lesson is taught by
1
the
minute.
teacher in the
Yeah.
classroom, the whole average student, below average student, and even the exception student can go home and work on their own preferences and needs and their places through these AI models. And this personalization, in fact, will affect the quality of learning and it will enhance it. To elaborate this point, I would like to point out the Benjamin Bloom's 2 sigma problem, which says that the students who receive one-on-one tutoring can perform way better than an average classroom. And this is even way better, as in like 2 standard deviations better than the average. So it's evident that this personalization, in fact, will cause the enhancement of quality of learning. And current methods like ChatGPT, Gemini, or even better developed method like Khan Migo makes the student think very analytically. They don't give the direct answer. If you have used this Khan Migo, you would know that it doesn't give the direct answer to the student directly. It makes the student think more analytically and come to the answer by themselves. And by having these kinds of well-developed AI models, what
Time's
happens
up.
is they can understand better and faster, and they might have extra time to use for the effective human interactions during the extracurricular activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilushi. We will give some time for the judges to note down their points. And then once the next, I will be announcing for the next speaker to get ready. So next, we have opposition speaker 1, Harindu, to share his thoughts.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the House, we as side opposition don't have to prove that AI is not useful. Rather, they need to prove all three. Not only they need to prove it personalizes education, they also need to prove that it doesn't compromise the quality of education, nor does it compromise human interactions. So if they fail any of these three, for example, even if they prove that personalization exists, but if it exists in the context of harming quality or human interaction, they would fail today's motion at the end of the day. And we as side opposition will be tackling all three of these areas, with me as the first speaker covering the quality of education, the second speaker the lack of interaction, and third on the lack of personalization, and proving to you on how in all three of these areas, the use of AI in this level would be harmful. Secondly, we will prove to you that the use of AI won't be as collaborative as side proposition tries to paint it. Why? Because it's hard to limit this integration of artificial intelligence to education once it's used. 3 reasons why. Firstly, students will inherently use this beyond the limits that are delineated by the educators. For instance, they are more curious than they are told, right? So because of that reason, they'll inherently go beyond those limits. Secondly, we tell you, even as the first speaker of side proposition mentioned, institutions are incentivized to cut costs. So what will institutions that are inherently poor, for example, a country like Sri Lanka where resources are very valuable do, they'll try to cut costs as much as possible. So that will lead to the decrease in the number of teachers if institutions think they can simply use artificial intelligence to replace it. Thirdly, we tell you there's an increased requirement of technical knowledge with the integration of artificial intelligence. So what does that mean? That means more training and more expenses to try and train these teachers to actually use these resources. And for a country like Sri Lanka where resources are limited, again, it would be more effective to cut costs. So for all these 3 reasons, we believe once it's integrated, it'll actually go ahead and not be able to be limited as side proposition paints it. Now for my argument on quality, 3 reasons. Firstly, we tell you it'll actually limit critical thinking. We tell you it's not as side proposition pains on how there's an exception on the artificial intelligence working with you every step and allowing you to critical think. When people think of artificial intelligence, the most often they think of its language learning models like ChatGPT. So how is in status quo, like in traditional learning, problem is covered? You have to, if you have an assignment, you try to succeed at it. You most often fail at it. You'll have pitfalls. So all of these experiences are what cumulatively allows you to succeed at that experience, right? And based on those experiences, it's what allows you to take future actions to avoid this pitfall. Now, what does an artificial intelligence inherently do, no matter what it is? If it tries to let you go step by step, it provides you a shortcut. Now, why is that bad? Because it inherently limits the experiences you could have gained by struggling to complete that particular assignment. Secondly, we tell you the product that you get from artificial intelligence will seem like the best possible answer or the best possible product. But in status quo, if you do get a particular answer, if you had those experiences initially, you could have used them to improve that product, that answer, and come up with a better answer yourself. Inherent. So why is this bad? Because the use of critical thinking is a fundamental aspect, even as Sai Prabhuji pointed out, for a person to succeed in the future. And particularly in a generation where artificial intelligence is there, a lot more people who have access to better technologies will get access to information more easily. So the people who can use that critical thinking, use the experiences to make a certain product from artificial intelligence better, are the ones who get a leg up. And if you do integrate this into education systems, particularly in low income countries, they are the ones who are going to lose out on these experiences and be ultimately disadvantaged in the future. Secondly, we tell you there's biased data sets as well, because they're inherently ideologically biased. And finally, we tell you there's a lack of accountability, which my second speaker covered. Because of all these reasons, we tell you the quality of education is compromised. So please side with side opposition.
Thank you, Harindu. Now the judges can mark their ballots.
Yes, we are done with marking. We can move on with the next speech.
Thank you very much, sir. So next we have our proposition speaker, Madhushi.
I will start in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, what the opposition has failed to acknowledge here is that there's a problem in the status quo. We are facing a big problem here, that the student-teacher ratio is very minimal, and we have to personalize education in order to make the quality of learning better. Now, how can we do this without using AI? The opposition is failing to acknowledge the problem and also failing to provide a better alternative. And they're talking about how AI is limiting the critical thinking, and also they're providing the explanation example of ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is one of the very first AI models, chatbots that came into life, and it even has evolved into 4 evolutionary levels. ChatGPT 4 is now currently in use, which is much more evolved than the first model that came out. And also we pointed out Colombo, which is a newer AI model, which has perfectly given the solution to that problem of limiting critical thinking. Now, AI is continuously evolving and providing solutions to these problems. And ladies and gentlemen, they are talking about the cost of teachers using this AI. Now, what we should understand is everybody, even in Sri Lanka, the third world country, we all have access to smartphones. Now, teachers also have access to smartphones. With this use of smartphones, simply we can use AI, and we can use this to equip our lessons, and also for the students and both teachers, they can use this AI with the single tap of their smartphones. Now, where's the extra cost needed for this? And ladies and gentlemen, now I will be moving on to my proper arguments. First of all, how personalization affects the students. Now, when we take a classroom full of 30 to 40 students, every student in this classroom is not going to be at the same level. There are above average kids, below average kids. And now what happens, the status quo is teacher is going to take a middle level, which she might think that fits everybody, but ultimately what it does is it wastes everybody's time. Why? Because above average student may not need a lot of explanation, while below average student is going to need a lot more explanation. Now, with use of AI, a personalized plan of education can be presented to each of these students, which will be efficient, and the students will acquire knowledge more efficiently, and that saves their time. Now, the bright kid can pursue more advanced knowledge and desired knowledge. He can pursue the subject stream that he likes in addition to what is being taught to him. And also, the weak student can make use of progress tracking AIs and also personalized feedback. For example, if it is a math problem, the AI can track exactly where the student made the mistake. It may be the negative numbers, it may be the addition of fractions. Now, the weak student can focus on this exact point where he went wrong and reach out to those teachers and also try to improve himself. And by that, educational quality is indefinitely uplifted by our definition. And ladies and gentlemen, AI unlocks new ways of education, which is not even imaginable in the traditional system. For example, Conmigo provides the option of having conversations with historical characters and also fictional characters. Now, what does this do? This inevitably enhances the critical thinking of the student. What other way can you point out to do this? Now, you can have a conversation with Jay Gatsby, and it inherently promotes your critical thinking. And also there are apps that generate questions and answers, flashcards like Quiz at AI and Notion AI. And also the AI can convert the educational material into
45 seconds left.
gamification, like a Minecraft Education Edition. Now, with this, the students will be more engaged with their education, which will be more efficient. And ladies and gentlemen, what about differently able students? Now, we have AI that turns speech to text and text to speech. These differently able students will gain a lot of benefit. from AI like this. And also, AI helps us surpass language barrier. When we take medicine, we have to read a lot of big books with complex language, and we are not that competent in English in Sri Lanka to learn all this by ourselves. Now, what you can do is you can take a screenshot of the textbook and put it in the ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will simplify it for you in a split second. And that will make your life a lot easier and save time for you.
Pooja,
And that time you can use for your other extracurricular activities, which will inherently increase human interactions. With that, please side by side proposition. Thank you.
thank you, Madhushi. So the judges can mark their ballots.
Judges are done. We can move on to the next page.
Thank you, sir. So next, we have our opposition speaker, Bhutmini. Bhutmini, are you ready?
I'm audible, yes.
Okay.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, in the capacity of the second speaker, I'll firstly move on to the constructive and then interact with their case, right? Our second constructive at hand is lack of interactions, right? Panel, we believe that in a world where AI is integrated into the school education system, this is nearly going to be lack of interactions happening. How so? We believe that, okay, imagine a scenario where AI acts as like a replacement for a teacher, right? Or imagine AI simply exists as a supportive aiding tool, right? Now imagine a situation where student has a question. If the student simply has a question and then AI is the teacher, well, there isn't going to be student-teacher interaction, right? Because now it's a student-AI interaction. But if it's simply like an educating aiding tool like ChatGPT, what's going to happen is the student is not going to ask another student, but rather what they're going to do is just simply search it up on ChatGPT and get the answer, right? So we see that like formal interaction that happen with student and a teacher and between students are essentially eliminated on their side of the house, right? But we also believe that this is like in the long run is going to lead to like eliminating even informal interaction. What does this look like? We tell you, panel, AI is essentially like integrated with virtual learning, right? More AI is promoted, more concept of remote learning is presented. Because more AI successful AI tutors are like introduced, there's less of a need of physically going to the class because now you can learn it at the convenience of your home, right? Meaning that on their side of the house, things like the informal interaction that happens when students are physically put in the same space is not going to happen on their side of the house anymore. Because now you'll be promoting virtual learning, right? But let's also understand why lack of interactions is inherently a bad thing, right? 3 levels under this. Firstly, we believe this is going to like essentially stunt the social skills of students. That is to say, now they no longer have that experience of posing a question in a forum, or no, they don't no longer have the experience of communicating an idea. No, they have this no, they have issues with like basic emotions like human empathy. Why? Because emotions like empathy are simply generated by interacting with other humans, right? But human interactions are going to be so limited that these kind of emotions are not going to be developed on their side of the house. And quite self-explanatory. The more that students like stuck to virtual learning, stuck to like searching on ChatGPT, whatever, there's going to be more isolation happening, but there's also going to be a lack of role models happening, right? Why? Because now, in order for you to look at your teacher or a peer as a role model in your life, you need to like develop like a substantive level of interaction with them, right? This level of interaction simply does not happen. Even if interactions were to happen, they remain at like base level at the point in which students can't look up to these people and be like, these are my role models. Because why? Students simply don't know these people anymore. But let's go ahead and interact with their case, right? The major issue with their case is that this runs on a very huge assumption, right? They run this entire case on this very huge assumption that AI in the future is not simply a content generation tool. It's going to be a proper like a student evaluation tool, right? We tell you that this is not going to actually happen, right? Because firstly, in order to like properly evaluate the student, there are multiple facets, right? Whether the student's an audio or visual learner, or whether simply this student isn't putting an effort or not. But even if these complex data sets can be analyzed by AI, then there's always going to be a human factor of a student that AI can never understand. Because what if I'm not studying because my father is hitting me at the house, and how can AI process that? This is essentially why AI can truly never be a successful personalizer for the students. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. That is that AI can truly be a successful personalizer. The issue is, this is when they fail on the second round that they should be winning on the debate, right? Because moment that AI is a successful personal tutor, why would I go to school anymore? This looks like what exactly happened with A-level tuition system. There's no need to go to the public schools anymore because A-level tuition system is so successful. Similarly, in the situation where AI becomes a truly personalized successful tutor, there's no need to like be present at the school. Hence, they will be failing on the second metric of this debate.
Thank you, both Minnie. Now the judges can mark their balance.
I think we are all clear to continue with proposition number 3.
Thank you, sir. So next we have proposition speaker 3, Dulan. Dulan.
Yes, I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Well, I've been listening all the arguments and the points that have been made by our opposition party, the first speaker and second speaker. By listening to those stuff, I came up into mind that our first speaker is only limiting the AI and education into only in Sri Lanka. But my dear opposition team, you may understand that this topic we are talking of we are not only talking about Sri Lanka, but we are talking about all the global situation. So what are we going to rely only on Sri Lanka? Then other thing. Our first speaker told that there will be a huge cost for implying AI on Sri Lanka. That means we need more cost. But just think about this way. In Sri Lanka, there is there are a huge difference between the teacher-student ratio in Sri Lanka. So that means we need more and more trained teachers to reduce that gap. So that means we need to train more and more teachers. That means we have to spend more cost and more time to train those teachers and bring them into the field. So then what about their salary and all the cost when we consider then we can say that employing AI in Sri Lanka is rather more less cost complying thing for the Sri Lanka. And then our first speaker also mentioned about something about cheating in assignments and all this stuff. I mean, is it the problem of the AI or the student? The cheating is done by the students, and it's an attitudinal problem about the student. So it's nothing to do about the AI in the cheating stuff. And then our second speaker told about love and empathy that does not provided by the AI. So who are we? Who told that love and empathy is going to provide by the AI? We have teachers to mentor and guide the students and do all this stuff. The AI is only for the giving instructions, giving information, and do other stuff. So there is no need to supply love and empathy by through the AI. And then let me come up with my proper arguments. Then first fact. Then before the AI was introduced, there was the whole grading and basic instruction process and the reference and all the stuff was done by the teacher by himself. That means he have to spend his time on not only on the teaching stuff, but also on these administrative tasks. That means that is a extra stress and burnout for the teacher, and that will not meet diverse student needs. That means by using the AI can basically do all the grading and basic instruction stuff. Then teacher is only have to do the interact with the students and then gather the outcomes with the AI and do all the necessary of which is that. And when in AI in Sri Lanka, here as university students, we also use AI as for our learning materials. So that means we can rather reduce that burden that acquired by the AI, rather acquired by the educational stuff. And then that means we have some extra time to engage with each other. And also we are doing some teaching stuff for for some pocket money that is due to the help of the AI. So if there was no AI, then how the university students is also can enter to the teaching role. That means the AI the AI increase the count of teachers, not decreasing or compromising the count of teachers. And then the engineering students also use the academic stuff like Khan Amigo, and those AI also will use you to apply your academic stuff very meaningfully and easy way, and that will help you to enroll in your learning and academic process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dulan. Now it's time for the judges to mark their panels.
Yes, we are done. We can move on with the next page.
So our next opposition speaker 3, Dineth, will share his thoughts. Dineth?
I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear up exactly what AI is. Because the kind of AI that they have been talking about, I think I'm going to assume they're large language models. And I'm going to simplify large language models for you. So the way the large language model works, pretty much it tries to figure out what word is most likely to come after each word. It tries to predict the most plausible sentence that you can have. And that is why I can tell you that these kind of models are not in any way to teach. They're just trained to come up with realistic content. And that is what basically the point of AI that they're talking about is. That's why I'm going to show you that the benefits that they're talking about are not going to exist on their side. First thing they tell us is this idea regarding personalization and how people with language issues are going to be able to do so. We think I'm going to have to disagree with that, because even when you look at this kind of teaching, we think the AI models need to have large amounts of data fed into them in order for them to be effective. And this is only likely to be effective in very small circumstances. For example, if you're teaching about like even things, maybe things like English literature or whatever, but even in those kind of scenarios, the amount of the AI models aren't able to go to a huge amount of depth. They're not able to make logical conclusions, because that is not what these kind of models were trained to do. Then putting that aside, if you go into like more niche areas, whereas you take things like law, medicine, or engineering, or anything like that, the AI models break down very easily when it comes to these kind of educational issues. So we are going to we're going to be talking about really replace these kind of AI models really useful with simple things like paraphrasing and questioning. Second response that I want to give to them. So they told us that look, okay, you have this issue with student and teacher ratio. But also in the third speech, we want to tell me, okay, we can still have the teachers. Also, we can have AI working alongside it. So in that case, we can have either the benefit of like maybe having no cost at all, because you still have to end up paying for the teachers. And you're not and otherwise the only solution is to like get rid of teachers completely and replace them with AI. In which case, all the problems that we talked about are still going to exist. They tell us, okay, look, we have this new application called Khan Miko. But the thing is, even Khan Miko runs on the open API that they have for GPT-4. So even all the same hallucinations that GPT-4 undergoes, those kind of things are still going to exist in this situation, even in these kind of models. So the benefits you're going to get are quite unlikely from it. Also, we think that kind of in terms of personalization, human teachers, because they have empathy, they are much more likely to be able to talk to students and be critical. They know the kind of problems the student is going through because they have prior experience teaching other students as well. So even before a student actually asks a question, the students always are formulating questions. Even when you give them AI models, don't really know kind of very common problem that
1 minute left.
teachers are actually capable of even before they ask these questions, they're capable of giving them the answers and helping these individuals. So we think in those kind of situations, AI is not able to actually personalize to an extent that is better than the teachers. But even putting that aside, we think we told you the burden of proof that we have, not necessarily to say that AI can't be personalized. Let me tell you, even if we can prove that even when AI personalizes, it does so at the cost of like human interaction, also quality of learning, we think is still something that's problematic. And I think within all my speeches, they told us how exactly quality of learning is going to be affected. I think because we told you the kind of fake information. Because these data sets are also that you should train the AI. They use biased data sets. For example, if you like ask some AI to like generate come up with pictures of males of CEOs, then you will come up with pictures of white male CEOs, because that's the kind of data that's been fed to. Issues are also going to affect AI in the situation. So quality of learning is probably problematic. These people are probably going to get biased ideologies, and because of that, we don't think this is something that should go ahead.
Thank you, Dineth. So next, we will allow time for the judges to mark the ballots.
Yes, we can move on to the next page, please.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have the proposition speaker 4, Abdullah.
Right. So let me start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker and the second speaker of the opponent, we were very concerned on two facts that I was listening, was replacing the teacher and the student teacher engagement and the human interaction. And the first speaker also was elaborating on the topic. Let me first go step by step from our first speaker. I was talking about how let me go with the how the teacher replacement. Our third speaker explained that how at the AI generating models, explaining the as a university student for us, the flashcard creating notes, Notion or AI, these are helping as a student as reducing the bulk of studies, which eventually helping us to be a teacher. So this is really not making a job loss to teachers, rather increasing more teachers. And the second speaker was coming up with the fact that uh, we are the AI model currently existing are language generating, but we mostly came up with more AI such as Notion AI, Copilot, and more other AI model which are not just language replacing, which can eventually give us with a more briefing and understandable way of education. And the second speaker was more promoting on the tuition classes that the students will neither go to tuition classes or school, and it was kind of promoting the students should go to the tuition classes. Our first speaker itself gave the model that education has two components. One is academics, the other one is extracurricular activities. If every student has different level of understanding. If this AI can support all the students of all the level to enhance their academic activities, they will also engage in more extracurricular activities. So if you look at in academics or extracurricular activities, in which students are having more engagement, we will say the extracurricular activities are the one the students are having more engagement. So in this, we say that the students are getting a more engaged activities. And the other one is personalization. If you have a look at the movie called Tare Zameen Par, there a student has a dyslexia. And it's living a real example about Thomas Alva Edison. The teacher said the student has a slow brain. This cannot be accommodated in this class, but the mother was a personal trainer. Same as in the Tare Zameen Par, there was a personal trainer who helped these two kids to really succeed in their life. Similarly, this is the same scenario in a class when there are 40 to 50 students. The teacher cannot really look into each and every student individually. So to enhance the teacher's observation on the students, these AI models can be supportive. A very good example is the China. They were using some headband to analyze each and every student, how much they are observing the class, how much are they interacting in the class. They are getting the analysis, and these kind of AI are really promoting each and every analyzing the helping aiding the teacher to help the student to get the optimum out from the student.
Minute left.
All right. And talking about the so someone was saying Sri Lanka, the resource condition. So there was one good example in India when they were about to launch the rocket. When a Western journalist asked Sir Abdul Kalam, in India there is not even proper facilities. Why are you trying for a space rocket station? And Sir Abdul Kalam asked, do you still think we'll always focus on a low mindset? So that is a mindset of a champion mindset. Even though we have economic crisis, whatever it is, the globe is already looking forward for advanced technology, where we also should manage our economy and find ways and develop our economic investments to improve more AI technology, bringing into our academics. And another point was we said about the teacher replacement. We are saying this, repeating the same thing, where we are not telling about the replacement of teachers. We are saying AI can increase the
Time's up.
efficiency of teacher and student to more effectively increase their academics. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdullah. So now it's time for the judges to mark their ballots. Dinet, can I know who is the next person who will be giving the sum up speech?
It will be Chavika. He'll be giving this speech and the next dance.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So next, we have the opposition speaker for Chavika to share his thoughts with us.
I'm going to give a countdown there. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Proposition does nothing to respond to Harindu's framing at the top of his speech, which means that the incentives that we talk about for institutions to completely replace teachers still stands, which means it's unlikely to be a collaborative process. They have to defend a world where AI completely replaces teachers. Secondly, they themselves talk about how AI tutors are so effective. If that is the case, it is a soft stance to say, oh, we're not going to completely replace them. We're only going to take the benefits out of them. I'm going to talk about three things here. Firstly, on personalization, they tell us they're going to solve the issue of teacher-student ratio, but then they themselves concede that they need teachers for empathy and role models and all the human interaction, which means they're just going to be paying for both the teachers and the AI. It's not really solving anything there. But in terms of personalization, we don't think the personalization will be as great as they talk about, because firstly, it's going to largely rely on students themselves knowing what is best for them and asking the AI for some sort of feedback or for some sort of activities, right? And we think students themselves are not the best judges of what is necessary for them. Secondly, teachers are far comparatively better because they know the entirety of the background, as Bhutni talked about, of these students, which means they can often tailor make lessons for students far better, right? Because they already allocate them to different competency levels in courses. They have things like remedial classes for students who are struggling. For disabled students, there are separate schools. Our university has an entire department dedicated to disabled students. So we think it's perfectly capable of having human personalization, these people having meaningful relationships while doing so. Furthermore, if they're going to talk about AI that's going to personalize to a great extent, that's only going to be massive privacy violations, because the only way the AI can know a student well enough to give personalized lessons is if they collect a great amount of data. And that's really bad, because they collect a great amount of data. The data is usually used by things like Western companies, and this data is unable to be tracked by most schools and most developing governments because they simply don't have the technological expertise to know how to do so, which means it's very bad ethically. Second thing that I want to talk about is quality. They tell us that the AI is going to improve over time and we're going to have things like Khan Migo. We say there's going to be a massive amount of time lag until it develops to the point where it's actually useful. And within that time gap, there's going to be massive amounts of AI that are extremely bad tutors and give bad information. Khan Migo right now, I don't know why they run this as an example, because it's been heavily criticized as being incapable of solving even elementary math questions, right? And secondly, even if it is true that there will be better models of AI available in the future, only the rich will be able to access them, because these models are extremely expensive. They have like several dollars worth of subscription costs, and the hardware that is necessary to run them is extremely expensive. I think it's very elitist for them to say, every kid has a smartphone right now. If you go into rural areas with any sort of developing country, most of them don't, and you're probably going to need higher-end devices than smartphones to effectively use AI for education. Finally, we want to say, even if AI improves to a great extent, that is going to be terrible, because that just means it's going to be possible for them to beat things like plagiarism checkers, possible to beat things like AI checkers within students' assignments at homework, which means students can cheat. And proposition can't get away with this by saying that, oh, cheating is just a student's problem. The point is, as we've already told from Hari's speech onwards, it is very difficult to regulate it, so students will use it and teachers are not equipped with the technical knowledge to ensure that they are not cheating and misusing it, which means that the quality is effectively going to be really bad, right? Because we're going to have things like not being able to have critical thinking and retaining far less, because studies show you can only retain far more when you engage with it, and you can't do that with the current AI models that exist. Second, you're going to have things like wrong information because of biased data sets, outdated data sets, and you're going to have no accountability when something goes wrong, because teachers are accountable to school boards, accountable to peer reviews. The ChatGPT and whatever is accountable to God knows who. We can't hold them accountable as a developing government. All of this means that quality is also going to be terrible. But finally, I want to point out about human interaction. This is very important because they need to fulfill all three burdens if they want to win this debate. They say almost nothing about human interaction other than say, now students have more time spent in extracurricular activities. First off, it's contingent on them actually proving that its AI is more efficient, because we've already told you that it's really bad at personalization, bad at giving quality education. They're probably not going to have more time to spend on extracurriculars. But secondly, we think academic settings are where you need the human interaction the most, because that is where you need competition, that is where you need collaboration to study well. And it's also because it's very stressful. So when you're in the stressful environment of academics, you need collaboration. This is why we think that in their best case, only the rich can access the AI. We think we're very proud to approve.
Thank you, Chavika. Next, the judges can mark their balance. Next, we'll be starting up with the sum up speech from the opposition. Chavika, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Proposition lost this debate when they did not respond to the framing that we've been continuing from our very first speech onwards. Because Harinder told you 2 points of framing. First, he told you that we don't need to prove that AI is not useful or has no uses in education at all. Rather, it is on proposition to prove 3 different burdens according to the motion. They needed to prove that AI personalizes education, that it doesn't compromise on the quality of learning, and that it does not compromise human interaction. If they fail on any of these grounds, they automatically lose this debate. The second point of framing that he brought up was that this cannot be a collaborative process, because it's very hard once you start to accept AI to regulate the amount that it intervenes within our education system. This is for three reasons. One is because students use it beyond the prescribed limits. Because once they have access to this, they're far more tech savvy, being of a younger generation than teachers. They're going to be able to use it beyond regulation. Secondly, is because of incentives of institutions to cut costs. And this is basically like proved by proposition's arguments that, oh, they want to save money by not hiring teachers. They want to get AI instead. This proves that institutions, when given the choice of opting into AI, they're going to try and integrate as much as possible. And since we're already within this trend of like remote learning, as Dhiren talked about, this means that you're going to continue to integrate it to the point where teachers are going to be completely replaced, which leaves massive amounts of harm about our arguments on human interaction, which I'll talk about later. And finally, what Harindu told you was that teachers need technical knowledge in order to regulate it, which they simply do not have. Things like the use of plagiarism checkers, the things like the use of AI checkers within answers, and all like checking whether the information is accurate within AI. All of these are things that teachers, especially in developing areas and rural areas where it's most important, where there's the most vulnerable communities, those are the places where AI is not going to be effective. What did we say within this debate, and what were their responses to that? We gave you an argument about personalization, how human teachers are far, far better at personalization. What they said in response was that, oh, there's a problem of a student-teacher ratio, so you need teachers you need more AI in order to cater to each individual student. But they shoot themselves in the foot when they say, actually, we're not going to get rid of teachers because we still need teachers for role models and empathy. They're going to run into the exact same problem as we have, because they're not going to have enough teachers to go around for like empathy and role models. So, which means they're still going to run into the problems of human interaction. But furthermore, they have to double their expenses, because not only are teachers expensive, AI for software and hardware, like the expenses that we talk about, also something that they need to bear. Again, very difficult for developing areas and rural areas. What was the argument of personalization? We told you that human teachers can personalize better because they know students personally at a deeper level. They know their backgrounds, they know whether they get bullied or whatnot, as Bhutmini talked about. They know everything about their mental health. And so they know exactly how to cater to those students, right? And even if it's in special circumstances like disabled, there's always different schools and different departments that cater towards those sorts of needs. There are things like remedial classes, there are things like courses of different competencies, right? Rather, what you have in proposition is AI who's going to rely on what the student is asking them for, right? So they're relying on the student making the judgment call of, okay, I am weak in this particular subject, I need more help on this, so AI, please help me. If you're going to develop an autonomous AI that's going to exactly like calculate exactly what is the student is weak in and give information based on that, that is really problematic, because as we told you, that means they're going to have access to student information, which means privacy of students is extremely problematic, because there's already been concerns about AI models being used to gather data and sell it off to Western companies. Now that's a problem for students, young students themselves. The next part of this debate was about quality of learning. They said there are these new models like Notion, there are these models like Khan, Migo that are much, much better. We've already told you why those models are probably not as good as we think, because right now they've already been criticized by like scholars as being like very giving either very basic, unnuanced ideas, or just simply giving wrong information because they have access to limited data sets, and also they don't have access to scholarly information, because only teachers and human teachers go to like scholarly websites and like pay a subscription fee to get these scholarly articles, right? The AI does not do that. They simply take it from the rest of the internet, and as we know, the internet is not fact checked. All of this means you're going to have wrong information, probably going to be ideologically biased data sets, outdated data sets, and possibly all these problems are not going to have any level of accountability, because as we told you, teachers can be accountable by school boards, they can be accountable by parent-teacher conferences, all of that. AI cannot be held accountable because it's some Western company that is very far away. You can't raise a lawsuit against them in developing areas because your government simply isn't strong enough to go to that level of extent. So you're going to have a lot of bad information which you simply cannot do anything about. Furthermore, we told you that even in their best case scenario, where they're going to have perfect AI models that actually do a really good job, it is only going to be for the richest students who already don't need it. These students who already can afford things like tuition or whatever are going to be the only people who can afford the software models, which are going to be expensive because they need to be trained on good data sets, but the hardware, just not just smartphones, as proposition talked about, but the high-end model, high-end hardware that is needed to run better AI models. Finally, and most importantly, lack of interaction, because the only thing they say here is about extracurricular activities, which you already proved does not work, because they did not prove that it's efficient enough to take away time from academic settings into extracurricular activities. If anything, you got to spend more time in the academic, because AI is not going to be training you well. And also, you need human interaction within academic settings, because that is where you need collaboration, competence to learn better. But also, that's why you have a stressful environment where you need to interact with your peers and teachers, because that is where you can have a better mental health. Ultimately, they failed to prove all three burdens. We're very proud to stand in office.
Thank you, Chavika. Now it's time for the judges to mark their ballots.
We can move on with the next speech.
Thank you, sir. So our final speech is the sum up speech by the proposition. Madhushi.
I will be starting in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this point clear. We are not proposing to take out the traditional education system completely and implement AI instead of it, which is what the opposition has mistakenly been trying to prove. The downside of that. Instead, we are proposing that we collaborate these two, and we are going to show you how this is possible and how this is happening in the current situation to some extent also. And ladies and gentlemen, someone somewhere in the Stone Age discovered fire. And at that moment, if everybody went like, oh, this can burn down buildings, so we should not use this, then we'll still be at the Stone Age. Don't you think so? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's true that there are some challenges coming up with the development of AI. But with human regulation and also by AI itself, it has provided us the solutions to these problems. And also in the future, we can expect more solutions to come up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly go to some rebuttals. So first of all, the fourth speaker talks about the data privacy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, because this AI system is being implemented via institutions and schools, they have the responsibility and they will be improving the security. As the development of AI, they will be taking care of data privacy, because data collection is anyway something that is happening in the schools. They will be grading students. They will be tracking the progress of students. What we are changing is we are using AI to track this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the data security is anyway something the school is responsible of. And this is something that is happening in the current society. And with AI using to collect this data, nothing changes. It's just the schools and institutions are using improved data security. And ladies and gentlemen, they are talking about the outdated and biased data set by AI. Now, think, what is the alternative? Referring to years old books, right? Textbooks written maybe 10 years ago. So now AI databases update continuously. So it's definitely more updated than books. And when we talk about bias, even humans are biased. Maybe when a teacher is teaching, the teacher might be biased. And like that, ladies and gentlemen, because the AI has a vast database, the bias will be minimum. And they're talking about cheating. Ladies and gentlemen, when it is true that students might use AI to cheat, but otherwise student can copy from another student as well. That is also cheating. With AI, you can check plagiarism. You can catch people who cheat. So, ladies and gentlemen, this will minimize cheating, not enhance cheating. And ladies and gentlemen, they're talking about institutional incentive to replace teachers. Now, what happens when a school always uses only AI? Would a student go to that school? Now, this raises the question, why a student goes to the school? Not only to learn, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot more aspects to it. And because of that, the institutions that are using only AI, which is not what we are proposing, will lose credibility to that institution. Nobody will go to that institution. And we are not anyways proposing to have only AI in schools. And ladies and gentlemen, the third speech of opposition was completely constructed of the downside of only language models. Ladies and gentlemen, we clearly mentioned to you about flashcards and gaming platforms that can be generated by AI, which will be tools to present educational materials in more interesting and engaging ways to our young students. And ladies and gentlemen, they're talking about how AI can't empathize, so they can't understand personal problems, like for father hitting me at school. Now, we are, if we think about the China focused headband system, they track how focused the student is in the class. If majority of students are out of focus, teacher will know, because the teacher gets real-time feedback to the teacher's computer. Teacher will know that is something wrong with her or his teaching technique. Maybe I should crack a joke right now to get the attention. And if it is only 1 or 2 students losing focus, then the teacher knows, okay, this is not a problem with my teaching. This is a problem with this particular student. I should talk to this student. Now, if it weren't for this AI headband, how would the teacher identify that problem, that the student is having a distraction? This data is what is provided by the AI. The teacher is the one who ultimately makes the decision to talk to that student and remedy that problem, which may be a personal problem. Maybe the father is sitting the student. That will be revealed only because of this AI. And ladies and gentlemen, they're talking about how peer interaction will be reduced by AI. Now, gaming platforms and group discussion AI platforms are emerging in the current society. This will promote peer interactions even more, because who goes to a student and who goes to a friend and talks about educational material? Nobody does that. But if it is a game, if I can play a game with my friends, I'm more interested to play that game. So AI enhances again the peer interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, let's now go to the proper sum up and see how the proposition clearly wins this debate. Now, we have three aspects to look at here: human interaction, quality, and personalization. When it comes to human interaction, they are saying that students will stop going to school. No, that will not happen, because if you ask a third grader, why are you going to school? Nobody will say, because I want to learn. They will say, I want to meet my friends. I want to cook at guiding lessons. So because of those aspects, they're still going to the school. And this AI implementation to academic side will save time for the teacher and student both. Students can play more, engage in extracurricular activities more, and also interact with peers in AI platforms to efficiently use their time. And teachers, how can, it is true that empathizing teachers can personalize, but how can that happen? Teacher has to mark 40 papers, do assessment, do assignments, and do lesson planning. How can a human being manage all that stuff by himself or herself? So AI will reduce teachers' time and give teacher a platform, a time to interact more with the students. And also the quality, critical thinking enhancement, and visual auditory learners benefit from AI massively, and also standardized texting and check plagiarism. These things always enhance the quality and knowledge acquisition. With that, please side with side proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhushi. So thank you very much, University of Ruhuna and University of Colombo. We will allow some time for the judges. Once they are ready, they can verdict. Esteemed judges, once you are ready, you may unmute and give your comments and the verdict.
Good evening, everyone. So I am going to announce, without any deliberation, I'm going to announce the verdict. It's actually a 2-1 split. So kudos to both the teams of entertaining us with a good debate. We appreciated the debate very much, all three of us. But according to the final verdict, it's a 2-1 split, and the winners are, I think, University of Colombo, who opposed the motion, and the losing side, I'm not going to call that, is going to be University of Ruhuna, who proposed the motion. So I hope that actually the verdict you guys understood the verdict. So I'm going to just explain a little bit on why actually two of the judges came to one conclusion, and then for a difference of opinion, we'll invite the judge who had a different opinion. Actually, that's Dr. Srinath. So starting off with the debates, so the proposition, the title, people you actually should have, in my opinion, should have explained it a little bit more and defined it a little bit more to the features of that particular topic. You should have gone through more and explained to the audience these things are what are we going to mention without quickly diving into the motion in its entirety. And then also for the fact that most of the arguments were blanket statements, and most of the proposition's argument was for what could be, this is could, and then the opposition was mostly standing on this is what is right now. So what if your what if argument is not going to work because of this right now it is here. So most of the time you were not working in like different parallel arguments, different pathways, and then just skimming towards each other's topics, and mostly rebuttal. In the sense of rebuttal, none of y'all actually understood the roles exactly, in my opinion. I don't know what Mr. Sahas also had a little bit of ideology on that also. So, and then some of these arguments and we thought would have brought in mostly in the beginning of the particular debate, not at the end, actually. So some of them are very valuable arguments that should have brought up in the beginning, and then then it would have worked more with the rebuttal and more examples. And also, when you're bringing in examples, try to back them with facts and statistics. And you should have had, maybe because you didn't have much time, you couldn't do that. But also, we didn't feel like you had backing of statistics and all that. So that is one of the things. In general, I'm just generally speaking in that sense. So there were good speeches. All of them were good speeches in your clarity and all of that. In a debating wise, I think it was good. But there was something, me as a debater, I used to not get afraid of the particular timer. All of you all had a fear of the timer, and then stop the argument that you were continuing when the timer stopped. Look, sometimes as judges, we let you finish the not drag on the argument, but we let you finish it for a little bit. So actually eating up your argument at the end, actually they were detrimental for all of you all. So I don't know, you should have used that particular factor, because we are human, we're not AI, so we would love you to let you speak. So that one. And then so this there were these arguments bringing the subscription costs and some contradictory points. All this stuff came up in the latter point of the kind of argument, the debate. So we were disappointed in that fact. So both the teams actually brought up that point. So there was a very good argument that this fire example. I mean, Dr. Srinath would speak about that. We believe that he should have brought in the beginning. I mean, if there was not if everybody started opposing everything, none of these things would have gotten. In ChatGPT wouldn't exist today if somebody opposed it like so. You could have built up more. And the Tare Zameen, for example, should have emotionally attacked later on, saying that human actually figured out this particular person has AI, dyslexia. But in the fact that an AI can actually figure out way before that, that's actually true. I mean, depending on the child's answers. But emotional argument could have rebutted that and brought out the emotions from the judges. Again, ultimately the teacher understood, and the social and cultural norms that the two parents didn't figure it out. What if it happens in our teachers as well, right? So stuff like that you could have also in its entirety. That's it. From my side, Mr. Sahas, do you have anything to add?
No, I think it was covered pretty much.
Okay. So for a difference of opinion, we'll go on to the Miss Dr. Srinath to deliver his side of the argument, judge deliberation. Yeah.
Thanks, Koide. So I think, okay, so the way I see that, proposition started, and proposition main argument was that there's a problem on the status quo. Actually, this word was explicitly used, but on the second talk, but not on the first talk. The argument that the world as now is not perfect. There's a lot of problems. There's a student ratio is wrong, etc. So this was the proposition's argument. This was attacked, but not properly rebutted across, because the opposition quickly went into the fact that it's just AI argument. I think that wasn't correct. And then it was rebutted. So this one side. Now the oppositions, when they started the argument, they gave 3 points. They basically said, now for proposition to win, you have to prove these 3. Now, personally, I would say these 3 things are very unfair things to ask for. But proposition doesn't attack it. They didn't even talk about it. They didn't rebut it. I think that may have cost them the talk. So this is one part. So the second point I would say is that proposition did the mistake of talking as if the future is very obvious. And they used what could be. In my opinion, it is correct to do that, what could be. Only thing is you had to bring in examples, citations from experts, etc., to argue that what could be is very possible. Just blanket facts doesn't work. That also, I think, is a big cost them a lot. So now, so I think at that level, that base level, when you lay down the primary arguments from both sides, there was weakness. There was a lot of things left on, and also proposition should have very soon brought in the fact that this fire argument came very late. Like the argument that if you think like that, then we couldn't have even used fire, because you don't know what, there's a lot, obviously you can see a lot of bad things that can happen, and the good things are not that clear, right? Again, too late, right? So this, now these kind of, for example, when the new thing and the status quo fights, the opposition would use the fear, and fear is very powerful tool on when you debate. Now, for on the ground, on argument by argument, it is hard on the opposition. But then opposition has to frame it. If you don't frame it, you're in trouble. I think that eventually happened. So I think we can, and I think that's all.
Yeah. Okay then. I think that's about it. Miss Andrea, is that you who will be coordinating it? So I think that concludes the aspect from the judges here.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, judges, for the informative comments that you gave so that they could use it in future and improve themselves. So University of Colombo and University of Ruhuna, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you all a part of this competition. So University of Colombo, congratulations. We will get back to you regarding the final debate. And debaters and audience, I have an announcement for you. Our semifinals will be on the 2nd of March at 3 p.m. As you can see in the screen, you can follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn through scanning the QR. You can get access to it. So congratulations, University of Colombo, once again. We can end today's session. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.